What's going on, Star Wars fans?
Hello there.
We are here tonight for another live. Appreciate you guys jumping on with us. Jacob is here with us tonight again. He's been on before. Our comic expert, Derek and Mike, from A Guy Who Loves Star Wars. So appreciate you guys coming on. Nick is actually, I think, on a flight right now. So he's not able to make it tonight, but he will be missed, but he can catch up next time when he comes on. So I want to say hello to Steve, Greg. Thanks for joining us, guys. I'm going to start off with some new stuff that we had. If you guys haven't seen anything, some new Star Wars stuff for this week. I know Mike went over a couple things, but we have a couple things on here as well, which and one of them, which I thought was interesting. I don't know, I came on a little bit late, Mike, but I'm not sure if so Lucas is dropping this obviously in 2027, A New Hope, again, but they haven't told us which version. And I'm interested to see what you guys think or what you guys want to see in the theater for A New Hope. Would you want the original version? Do you want the CGI stuff? Do you want the New Hope version of it, or what? Derek, I guess I'll ask you first.
Ooh, that's hard because while original is always amazing, I'm really fond of when they re-released it, because that was when I was really getting super nerdy into Star Wars.
Yeah. For me, honestly, I would rather the same. I'd rather the re-release. And they've been re-releasing these Star Wars movies. Like a couple years ago was Return of the Jedi, and that was the re-release one. So it would make sense. There has been some talks of like it being the original, because they just re-released the original in like London or something for a couple weekends or whatever that was. But yeah, I'd be kind of surprised if they went with the original, because even George Lucas is like, that's not the Star Wars I wanted to make. This is right. So, and that's the one on Disney Plus too. So I'd honestly be surprised if it wasn't the what are they called? Special editions. Special editions.
Yeah. Jacob.
Honestly, I'd say both. Like, do one release of like the original, so everyone can like know what everyone was experiencing for the first time that Star Wars was introduced to everyone, and then follow it up with like hey, this is the remastered edition with extra aliens, extra critters, extra dogfights, everything that George Lucas wanted to add in to fully fulfill his vision of what a Star Wars is.
Yeah, that would be cool. I don't think that they would do that, but I would love to see the OG again, just because to bring me back to that, one time, and again have you guys see what the original was. Not the 1981 version, when he put A New Hope to it, but the original Star Wars that comes out, with the stuff that's there, and that's it. The minimalistic stuff that he put in there that originally came out, which I thought was fantastic, obviously, and I think it would be cool to see that in theaters again, and maybe they would do both of them, because I think you would have a bunch of people that would go to see the original, like myself, to see it, and maybe some of you guys as well. No matter what version comes out, I know we're all going to go see it, but I think it would be cool to have the OG, and then also to have the CGI as well, so that you guys could see that original version, but then we also get to see the cool version, when he put the CGI in. Even, whether it's I guess the CGI Jabba would be better than that guy, that the big fat guy that they have that's there, but I think it would be interesting to see that. Evans on Galaxy 23, 77 version would be would make it cool. Would make a cool thing, I think, as well. So,
well, honestly, when you look at the original for A New Hope, there's obviously a bunch of changes. Han shooting first, not shooting first. There's not that many other than that are like too crazy. It's mostly just adding a few scenes to make it look more immersive, like the Tatooine stuff when they're driving into Mos Eisley, making the Death Star fight more visually appealing, I guess. Like it's not too drastic changes except for Greedo shooting first. So I don't know. It will be very, very interesting. Correct me if I'm wrong though, that Jabba scene is cut from the movie originally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there wouldn't be a random guy.
Yeah, it would be a random fat guy.
That guy, furry coat.
Yeah. And Derek, like we talked about, I wanted to I know you had said this, but give us a little bit of history on these the DSKs or DSX.
Yeah, so those were originally at Galaxy's Edge in California, at Disneyland. And those are ones that they developed, the Imagineers created. They use AI learning. So they're constantly evolving, which is really cool. And now they are in Orlando. So originally it was going to be that they were going to be in Orlando for a limited amount of time. But Ron, you said you thought you saw a story that said that they're going to stay?
Yeah, I think I saw something here where they were in Orlando.
And are they just walking around still and interacting with guests, or is it like, are they part of the droid factory experience where you get to build your own droid and have it run around like the BB-8 or the R2 units?
Yeah, so it's still that they're just running around, but they're doing like mini shows in different areas of the park with different characters, especially with Vi Marati. So what I think is so cool about this is the original concept of Galaxy's Edge, and that we never got. Some people say because of the pandemic, I think that was just an easy excuse for budget cuts. But originally there was supposed to be a ton of characters walking around in the park. A lot of them were going to be alien characters that had, full makeup and mask, kind of like what Star Cruiser became, the resort. I won't want to say hotel because people get all upset about that. But so like there was supposed to be a lot of that. There was supposed to be a ton of droids that would go and interact. There was even going to be like a bantha ride where like you could ride an animatronic bantha. I guess that like was made. So there's all this, but long story longer, I'm super excited that they have them in the parks and that it's bringing in some of that original concept. And people love them. They're super cute. They're funny. They're cool. And it's easy crowd like suck up. So it just brings people in. It's good ways to get the lines to die down in other spots. It's just easy entertainment for Disney.
Yeah. And you are correct. I read it wrong. At the end of August. August 30th.
Great. Thanks for getting my hopes up, Ron.
Sorry.
Appreciate it. Because I'm a
you
Disney World guy.
You better book your flight and get down there now so you can see them.
One of the characters that run around there, I can't remember the character's name, but she's like darker toned skin. She's got like blue, black hair. She's a Galaxy's Edge original character, right?
Yeah, Vi. So she's in the book Black Spire, which is one of my favorite Star Wars books. If you haven't read it, incredible.
Okay.
Nice.
And you'll get some cool backstory that makes you like the sequels even more, because Kylo Ren shows up. There's Cardinal is in there. There's some really cool character development in that book that was leading up to the park. So shout out to my friend Logan Seculo that like got me hooked on that book, and I feel like most people that have read that book now are because of him.
Nice. Have you read that one, Mike?
I haven't. No. Black Spire. Got to write it down.
Yeah. Now is that
so good?
Is it is that also canon? Is everything canon pretty much now? Okay. Because that's the thing. That one's
definitely canon.
Okay, and that's the thing that that I was going to bring up as well, especially since Jacob's here. But this also helps, I think, this new Vader comic that comes out with Kylo. It helps with the sequel stuff because again, it's not a secret. I love Star Wars. Those aren't my 3 favorite movies, but this is it's a cool and not to spoil it too much, but I'll let you talk about it a little bit just so you know.
Yeah, so a majority of the Legacy of Vader series has truly just been Kylo, and I believe this is all following up after he's killed Snoke. So he tried, getting ready to join him and kill off both the Sith and the Jedi, and Luke Skywalker's obviously gone after Last Jedi. Spoiler alert. So he's essentially been running around abusing his power as supreme leader, and from what I can tell, the main gist of the story has been he's going around just all around the galaxy wherever there is like there's like tell or notes of Darth Vader prehistory. So like whether it's Darth Vader and he's ever shown signs of weakness, or when he existed here as Anakin Skywalker. Like I think we talked about it last time I was on. Uh that one of the more recent issues, Kylo Ren went back to Naboo, and not only just Naboo, but like Leia or no, Padme and Anakin's like summer home out on Naboo. He just kind of wandered around and he ran into some of the locals, and basically they were just very, passive people. They didn't, splash any water. They just minded their business, let the Empire do as they do, because they weren't doing any harm. And Kylo Ren literally was just like, I want to cause so much damage to this place as possible. So he goes undercover, gets everyone riled up, creates his own rebellious rebellious force amongst the native Naboo, the Naboo natives. And basically they were just like kind of pulling up like what Andor was doing. Like they were interrupting supply runs, they were stealing weapons so that they could, supply the rebellious group, fight back against the First Order. And because he knows the regulations and the procedures of the First Order, he knows exactly how they're going to maneuver, how they're going to respond. And after long enough, they were just finally like, there's no point in doing this, so we might as well just leave. So it's like, did Kylo end up seeing the point of keeping Naboo alive, even though the weakest point of Darth Vader being Anakin Skywalker? Or is it just like there's truly nothing left here to destroy because even the pride of these people is so easily conquered? And then this recent issue, without going into any spoilers, just another fun hunting down Order 66 survivors. He does happen to run into one, and she's got a fun little twist on how she's essentially disconnected herself from the Force, like most Jedi survivors, but she has she shows just how much more powerful in the Force she is compared to most other Jedi, and I would hate to spoil it. So if I would definitely talk more detail in a future episode, because it is really awesome how much of a flex she truly has in this comic. And they do give us a teaser at the end, like, hey, look forward to the next issue because we're finally gonna bring back the Knights of Ren. They have a new leader, but the only way this person can truly take over as the leader of the Knights of Ren is by killing Kylo. So is this going to be a challenge for Kylo? Is this going to be easy sweep? Because we see them back and again, I believe, in Rise of Skywalker, and then we know how they end up.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's so cool because the comic books, and I don't know how long they've been canon, but it's able to make us all have a little bit more love for the sequels. And I think that's cool because you have a little bit more back for Kylo Ren, and maybe we'll get some of that in between, which I think we might. Mike, I know we always talk about, hoping to see why Luke becomes such a grumpy old man, so to speak. And if we get some backstory on this, it might be, we might have some of that in a comic book. Hopefully we'll get Mara Jade and we'll get some stuff in there and he'll just, have to snap and do whatever. But if not, I think we'll be able to get some of those answers in comic books like that, which I think would be pretty cool.
Yeah, well, it is really cool because the Vader comics were so beloved for literally whatever it was, 5-7 years that they ran on for. Mm-hmm. It was a long time. And the genius of these Kylo comics is they're not called Kylo Ren comics. They're called Legacy of Vader. So it's like the continuation of that, what you already know and love. It's continuing. And I haven't really tapped into the Legacy of Vader comics at all. I did a lot of the Vader stuff, but from what Jacob was just saying, it sounds pretty awesome to me. I mean, I definitely want to check that out. But I have seen all the news around it, having not read any of them. And Order 66 Survivor kind of stirred the pot a little bit. People were like, what are we doing? There's more people who survived Order 66. But the way it works, because Order 66 was killing 10,000 Jedi at the same time, obviously a 9.9 whatever percent success rate, you're still going to have hundreds of Jedi out there. So there's Cal Kestis's and other people Cal Kestis and more Cal Kestis. But you'll have these characters that pop up even years and years in later. But it does beg the question, because we have some Order 66 survivors in like the Mandoverse or Ahsoka Tano. Who could she survive towards the sequel trilogy? Could Cal Kestis survive towards the sequel trilogy? Like, will those characters? They're definitely young enough. Will they still be around at that time? And how can they connect to that story? But the Knights of Ren are always a thing I thought were just underutilized. So it'd be cool if they got a redemption of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of going along with the comic books too. One thing, jumping back to Galaxy's Edge and Black Spire, I think it's Thrawn Alliances that Thrawn and Anakin meet in Batuu at Black Spire, because Anakin's looking for Padme. You know, spoiler alert, book's been out for a while. But there's another tie-in with the whole Vader thing and why Kylo goes. You have to read the book. I don't want to spoil too much, but Kylo does go to Black Spire. So I'm wondering if they're going to do something in the comic books that's also going to be more Kylo Ren in Galaxy's Edge or in Black Spire. And then we see that in the park some more, because they have been bringing those characters in, and now they're like, oh, well, like, maybe it does make sense to have Anakin at the parks. Of course it does. We don't even care if it does. It doesn't have to make sense. We just want it.
Yeah,
very true.
It's
Very
funny
true.
that Anakin's left out of the party.
Yeah, and they just closed, or they're closing that character meet and greet area for Star Wars Launch Bay, and they're turning it into an animation courtyard again. So now they will need a place to have Darth Vader and Chewie and Kylo Ren that people can do meet and greets. Kylo Ren's already in Galaxy's Edge, but the other ones aren't. Chewie is, but it's different. So
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so look for more stories.
Yeah. Sorry, I got a dog barking upstairs. I don't know if you guys can hear that.
You're good.
Another one that I was actually thought was pretty cool, which I'd really like to check out, because I think this is fantastic photo of all three of these Jedi, is the Jedi Knights. Have you started watching or reading any of this?
Oh yeah, no, I've been following it as closely as I've been following Legacy of Vader. I believe the last issue, we got some more like light shown on Yaddle and Dooku.
Okay.
Not fully invested or committed to Darth Sidious's plan just yet, but he is still a renegade of the Jedi Order. He's already left, and I forget what exactly it was, probably pirates or bounty hunters or just, some criminal group causing some nonsense in the galaxy. But Yaddle and one of her apprentices went to go prevent whatever these guys were stirring up, and turns out that Dooku is there as well, and he's already kind of not only outnumbered but outgunned. So they all kind of come together and take down the enemy force, and then after all is said and done, Yaddle and Dooku trade a couple of words, and Dooku still just kind of continues on.
So this is all during the Clone Wars, then, obviously.
Oh,
this is set here. Okay. Yeah, I think that's, again, like I said, that's just a cool. I mean, you want to know what's going on right there. I'm sorry, but you want to know what that story is about with the three of them standing there with their lightsabers out. So I just think that's a pretty cool.
I believe that's, if not next week, then the week after.
Yeah, it's the newest one coming out.
So that story is between episode 1 and 2.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a 10-year gap there. Like, that's a big gap that needs to be filled. Like, that there's a lot of story in the peak, I guess the peak of the Jedi, where you could tell a lot of stuff. Count Dooku's fall being a big one, because we see the end of it, at least in Tales, but yeah.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing, like I was saying, with watching what I'm watching right now with Ahsoka and everything that's come up with that. It's just so cool to see some of these things that are coming to fruition. And Master and Apprentice, I mean, that's in that time period. Actually, that's before everything, which is sort of cool to see how Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon get together, and the ups and downs that they have that I didn't know about until Nick had said something about some of those things that are going on. So that's what inspired me to put that on. And like we were talking about before, I'm listening to that. I'm reading Rebel, the one with Jyn Erso, Rebel Rising and then watching the Ahsoka show. So it's just there's so much out there that's so good. And now with these comics coming out, it's like, oh, okay, now I have more that I have to freaking read, you know.
Well, it's funny too, because Derek brings it up. Thrawn is of course going to be a big villain moving forward in the Mandoverse. He's connected now through books and comics and animation and live action to all these different characters. Like he's in the canon Thrawn novels, he's friends. He's talked to Anakin and Vader, and has these connections to all these different, very big legacy characters. And of course, when he finds out that Ahsoka is Anakin's Padawan in Ahsoka, he's like, we got to get out of here. But now you have the ability with books and comics to connect all those different pieces, where if you just watch the movies, you just watch the shows, you don't really get all of that extra stuff. Like we've talked about before, you can watch Ahsoka and it makes sense.
Right.
But you don't really get the best out of it if you haven't watched Rebels, you haven't watched Clone Wars, and you don't really know your background of these characters.
Yeah. Well, and that's next for me is I'm going to go back and watch Rebels again.
Yeah.
You know, just watch it up, and because you pick up so much more stuff, I think, as we continue to watch. And I know we've all watched them. All four of us have watched them multiple times, whether it's the animated or the movies or the live action. So, you know, you still get to pick up, you know, new things. One more new thing that I know Mike had brought up, but I also saw this today, which is sort of cool. The new Starfighter movie had an announcement of this gentleman, and yes, I copied this from you, Michael.
Hey, I've seen that. I edited that this morning.
You're so good.
Oh, thank you. I just,
yeah.
I made that
I think
myself.
this is going to be cool that they're bringing him in. I think he's fantastic. I did not watch Doctor Who. Did you see it at all?
I've never watched Doctor Who, no.
But watching him in
House of Dragons.
Yes, Morbius and House of Dragons. I thought it was. I think this is great. I think he's going to be a great villain. I think he just looks the part. Whether it's going to be some sort of, I know there was talk before about, you know, because he does have very similar features to Ian, where he could be a Palpatine. You know, whether they go back and do something, that would be fantastic.
He does look like a young Sheev.
Yeah. You know, I mean, that would be amazing for them to do a Plagueis movie and have him be young Sheev. That would be awesome.
Oh,
that'd be great. But it seems like that can't be the case anymore, because Starfighter's post sequels, and I don't know. The weird thing is, I'm actually re-listening to the Darth Plagueis novel right now. That has to be made into a show or a movie of some sort. Young Palpatine has to be done. But when it comes to the Starfighter stuff, the coolest part about like this casting, this whole Matt Smith stuff, is he's going to be the villain. Like, that's confirmed. We don't know what that means, though. He could be anything from a Sith to a pirate to a smuggler to a bounty hunter. He could be anything. We really have no idea. But what's got people excited is the name Matt Smith, and the fact that Ryan Gosling's attached, and Sean Levy, and all these different people. Like, that's not really what you usually get when it comes to Star Wars. You usually get nobodies. You get just... The hype is around Star Wars. This is the hype around these actors and creatives around this project. We don't know much about the plot of the show, or movie, I should say.
Yeah. Well, and they brought Mia in, you know, and she's supposedly going to be a villain as well.
She could very easily play a Sith Lord. She is a very like convincing actress. She really knows how to carry her own weight, regardless if she's the main character or a side character.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Like, why are we casting all these major actors and actresses as villains? Because usually when it comes to Star Wars, it's a Sith Lord. It's usually one guy or two guys. It's Vader and Palpatine, or it's just Vader, it's just Palpatine, or it's just Darth Maul, or it's just Dooku, or whatever. It's never usually this 1-2 punch of Matt Smith and Mia Goth. Like, it's got you thinking like this could be something really, really crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this. And we're going to get the Mandalorian and Grogu before that. So, you know, once they start, and hopefully we'll get some leaks on this, but before, you know, obviously we'll get the trailers and stuff like that. But what's going on, Tim? Thanks for joining us. Kit Fisto, thanks for coming on. We're just talking some new stuff on Star Wars here.
The way go ahead. You're good.
The way I see it right now, when you look at what's happening, because Ron just said it, the Mandalorian Grogu movie is coming out next. Ahsoka season 2 is coming out next. We got so many Mando stuff, and even Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni have said that they're going to focus on the Mando stuff. They're also doing a bunch of post-sequel stuff. Starfighter, Rey movie, Simon Kinberg trilogy is supposed to be post-sequels. So they're going in the middle of the Skywalker saga, after the Skywalker saga. We're getting Dawn of the Jedi stuff. We've gotten 2 Acolyte books in the last year. Like, we are all over the board in Star Wars, but that's because they want to please everybody. So if you love the legacy characters, you're going to get Luke, you're going to get Han and Leia all in this Mandoverse stuff. If you like the sequel trilogy characters, or you want new characters and new stories, you're getting Ryan Gosling, you're getting Matt Smith and Mia Goth coming into a new show. You got the sequel characters coming in out past the sequels. And then you got the Dawn of the Jedi and just some really cool stuff from all the way before, the origins of the Jedi, the origins of the Sith, and all that stuff. So it's really whatever you like. If you like it all, like most of us, then you get the greatest Star Wars experience of your life. But if you like certain things, you don't want to be disconnected from the Skywalker saga, or you really want to be disconnected from the Skywalker saga, you're getting all that. And you get to pick and choose what you want, which is so cool. And it all happens at the same time. Like, it's not going to be only Mandoverse for 10 years and then only post-sequels for 10 years. It's all happening one after the next.
Yeah. Well, and Jan brings up a good point about Plagueis and the Acolyte. And here's the thing. I don't think we're done with that, because was it Manny Jacinto, or however you say his name?
Today.
Just today, he did it again. He came out again saying, I want to come back. He's not done with the character. Like, they're doing this on purpose. Otherwise, they'd have NDAs on him and stuff, or gag orders. That's how that stuff works. So, like, there's stuff going on. They're leaking this because, or they're making him or wanting him to say this for a reason. I'm putting money on it. Yeah. Also, like, I was looking him up recently, and how old do you think he is?
Manny Jacinto, 34.
He's like 37. I was like, wow. He looks young. He plays and he plays a younger, assumed younger character. But yeah, that's I don't think we're done with this with Plagueis and with him at all.
No,
I could see a whole series coming from it.
It would be crazy, because I feel like the only reason we didn't get an Acolyte season 2 is, of course, because the fandom just absolutely erupted online. If that wasn't the case, if they could announce a season 2 and people not just lose their minds, then they would. They would have already, because they want that story to continue, because getting more Plagueis leads to young Palpatine, which we just talked about, would be awesome. So it would be crazy, and it would be the biggest risk, and they'd never do it. But it would be crazy if they made all of Acolyte season 2, didn't tell anybody about it, and just dropped it one day and was like, here you go. You can't argue about it before it comes out, but you can argue about it now. Here you go. That'd be awesome.
That honestly is the way they should do it, whether it's Star Wars projects, Marvel projects, DC, any fandom. Because once you start releasing trailers, you start saying too much. You start sharing too much. You start showing too much. And sometimes you can start misleading the fans. Like, the amount of times we can keep connecting Star Wars to Marvel because of Disney. When Infinity War was coming out, I remember that first trailer dropped and everything was just like, guys, it's finally happening. The Infinity War. All the comic fans have been waiting for this for Lord knows how many years. And we get that one scene in the trailer where it's like that final hurrah charge, all the Avengers and allies charging straight into the camera. Movie comes out, we never even see a dime of that. Turns out they were just trying to set up for Endgame, which we had no idea it was even coming out when Infinity War was dropping.
That's true. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Marvel does that all the time, though. They put in fake scenes into their trailers. Like, that's some wild stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what will happen. But I agree with you, Derek. I think that we're not done with Plagueis. We definitely have to see some more, because I think enough people, now that the dust is sort of settled a little bit on the Acolyte, you're going to have your haters no matter what. But again, as we continue to do more of these books, or even comics, if they start bringing some of this stuff in and start answering some questions, people are going to get more interested to see Plagueis in live action, to see Manny in live action again. Because again, even with your stuff the other day, Mike, with your episodes, I mean, episode 5 is just phenomenal. in the Acolyte. I mean, it is one of my favorite episodes, and the way that they did that and the power that he has is just phenomenal. And then the last episode with Plagueis there, and we want to figure out what they're going to do, now that the two of them are together as quote unquote maybe Sith, but you still have Plagueis there. So is she the Acolyte now, and what's going to happen to that? So and you still have all the other stuff with Venestra, so I think it'll be interesting to see how much or how long before we get some of these things, if that's going to be maybe a new live action as well, or if we do finally get a season 2 on that. It'll be interesting.
Well, I already mentioned this, but I'm re-listening to the Darth Plagueis novel, and people want that to be canon so bad because it's so good. Yeah. But a lot of that could technically just be brought into canon, just one for one, bring it on in. The only change would be Tenebrous' death, I guess, because it happened so close to when he goes and gets Palpatine. And that would, of course, change. Unless, again, only seeing Plagueis, that one scene where he's in the cave, doesn't really give us much information. Is Tenebrous still alive at that point? Maybe, maybe not. Like, is he looking at Chimere because he's already his apprentice, or he wants him to be his apprentice, or he doesn't like this and he's going to kill both of them? Or, like, what? Well, we don't know what's going on. But I think any way to get more of Chimere, whether you have to change the name of the show or completely rework the whatever, just do it. Like, just give us more of that, because we need it.
Yeah, well, and I think for it to be in live action, I think that would be even better. I mean, we could fill it with novels, or we could fill it with comic books, or even animation. But we've already seen Plagueis in live action. You have Manny right there to do this. So why not bring them back, give us a little bit more of the story, and please the fans that really enjoyed it? Because I think it would be interesting to see now the poll, if you were able to poll these people up or everybody up about the Acolyte, and see if it would still take such a hit as it did before. Because again, if you watch it again, or if you talk to people about it and they go back, and some people have changed. Some people are like, oh, you know what? I went back and watched it again, and it's not as bad as I thought it was. So I think it could be interesting to see if we could get a new live action for that. Would be fantastic for Acolyte season 2.
Well, it seems like the conversation now, even when I bring it up on my streams, is like, it's not complete hate all the time. It's more of like people have settled down over their in their old age all these years after Acolyte, and it seems like people have almost just gone, okay, maybe I didn't like the story, and that's fine. Like, whatever, people like it, people don't like it, that's fine. And I saw Greg say it in the chat, it would work with new writers, new producers, new showrunners, and a new cast. Well, new cast, they all did die in the first season, but it would be funny if because the big issue was sort of the actors and Leslie Headland saying stuff before. It would be crazy to see how the Acolyte performed if they didn't say those things in the interviews, but that's besides the point. If they were to bring like their best guns, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and say they're doing season 2, like, what would people's reaction be to that? If they were like Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, the guys who gave you the Mandalorian, gave you the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, they gave you Ahsoka, they gave you all this stuff, they're giving you Acolyte season 2 now. It's not Leslie Headland, it's these guys. Like, what would people do? Or, and this is the most insane extreme, would be, we're bringing back George Lucas to do a Acolyte season 2. What is your reaction to that? Like, it will be very interesting, because I don't think if they're going to run back a season 2, they would do it with Leslie, which, whether you like her or not, it's probably for the best.
Well, and here's my thing is, even if like they decide, yeah, you're right, we need an Acolyte, it will never be called Acolyte. It won't. Yeah. If anything, they could just call it the Stranger, or something along those lines. Like, just yeah.
It is the craziest thing to me too, because Chimere is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars now, and I want more of him, obviously, but I just want his name. Like, I'm sitting here calling him Chimere. Chimere is some alias that he picked up. Right. His name is literally the Stranger right now. Like, come on, just give me a name, please.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like you were saying, Mike, and Derek's going to put up a poll here if he hasn't already.
But it should be up there
in reference to the Acolyte, if you want to see a season 2. But Greg brought up a good point. Like you were saying, Mike, I think if Dave and John were involved in this, and people, you put that out there, like somebody said, also, if George Lucas put it up, then people would go watch it. So I think if you put somebody different on it, it probably would. But again, sure, there was some hiccups in it, but I think Leslie did a good job with it. I think it was a fantastic freaking series. So I wouldn't hate it if she was in there again, if she had a second season to bring, more Plagueis in there to figure out the backstory or continue on this story with Manny, and just see what's going on. And that would be fantastic. Yeah. And very similar to Kylo, Chimere. Somebody said here in the chat, which I think is good. Zima, I think it's Zima, right? I always have Nick to pronounce that for me.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. I think Leslie did a great job with season 1. I think it's just more so because so many people hated her that bringing her back probably wouldn't be the best bet. You could bring her back for season 2 and just have her be a producer or something, because if she's the front headline of she's back in Star Wars, it's going to be this whole civil war yet again in the Star Wars fandom throughout the whole course of season 2. And honestly, maybe we just have to live through that and just get the show anyway.
Or let's just go crazy and let's just do like Ron Howard comes and does season 2 of The Acolyte.
Exactly. Or Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah, Bryce Dallas.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Her, Taika Waititi, we can get plenty of the Mandalorian crew together.
Yeah.
And she can act in it too. She can be in the show. That'd be great.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be pretty fun. All right. What so do you guys think that this new with Ahsoka coming up, how much are we going to get from Mandalorian and Grogu into Ahsoka? Because we've talked about it before. There's so much stuff that can go on here with the bad guy, whether it's Thrawn or whatever, in reference to Mandalorian and Grogu, but then you also have Ahsoka season 2 after that, and that's where I think things are going to get sketchy. I'm interested to see, because Mike, like you said, I think this is going to be even like an Avengers, type of thing where they bring everybody together. And are you going to bring Thrawn into it? And then if you do, you have to have some sort of story before Ahsoka season 2, because I think if Ahsoka season 1 came out beforehand, you could definitely piece that together and then build it up to this big battle or this war in Star Wars, like David said, in reference to Mandalorian and Grogu. But I think because Ahsoka is coming after, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with the Mandalorian and Grogu story.
Yeah, I honestly think Ahsoka season 2 now seems like it's going to be more of Ahsoka and Sabine on Peridia, possibly Abeloth, a lot of Mortis gods, and that stuff will be the focus. The Thrawn side of it will obviously be there, and it will be a pretty big part. It won't be 50-50. It'll be a lot more Ahsoka and Sabine on Peridia, because the Thrawn stuff's got to be extended through a lot of projects. I think he might be in the Mandalorian Grogu movie. Even if he's not, his presence will be felt all across it, and this return of the Heir to the Empire will be a message that's being shown across the entire movie. But Ahsoka is going to be, yet again, just another stepping stone for Thrawn. It's going to be mostly about the Mortis gods, mostly about Abeloth, and it's going to be Thrawn just building up more power, because we need to see him get a bunch of wins under his belt so he becomes an actual villain, an actual threat. When we meet Palpatine for the first time in 1970 or 1980 and then 1983, he's already the emperor of the galaxy. He's already feared by everybody. Thrawn right now is not. Like, he's got nothing. He's got nobody. He's piecing everything together, and we don't really see him as a big threat yet. Especially the normie fans, they don't even know who this guy is. He's just some random blue guy who popped up on the screen. So he's got to get a bunch of wins under his belt, and I think using the Mandalorian and Grogu movie as his first appearance almost for the casual fans, and using Din Djarin and Grogu, who are very fan favorite characters, to do that and usher him in will be awesome. But Ahsoka season 2 will just be sort of a setup for that big war. The war is going to be going on, but it's going to be a setup for Dave's movie and whatever comes after that, because that's where Thrawn's going to be at his peak. Ahsoka might not even be in that, We don't even know if she comes back by the end of season 2. Like, she could still be in the other galaxy. But to the point of what's going to happen with Thrawn, I think he's just going to get a bunch of wins next year. 2026 will be the year of Thrawn, and he's just going to win everything. And then we'll finally see him be defeated. Maybe if this is going to be a trilogy, because the last report we got was if The Mandalorian and Grogu is a success, then it's the beginning of a trilogy. But if it's not, then what happens? So if it's a success, hopefully it's a new trilogy. Episode 1, you get sort of an introduction to Thrawn, maybe, and much like Palpatine is the Phantom Menace in episode 1. But you get Din Djarin, you get Grogu, you get this introduction to this whole world on the big screen. And then the second episode, maybe Thrawn gets a big old win. It's the Infinity War to the end game, and then the final one is defeating Thrawn. But that fully depends, apparently, on whether or not the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is a success.
Well, but I think, and I think we'd all agree with that as well, that it probably is going to be. I mean, unless they really flub it up, which I really don't think that they're going to, because as big as Mandalorian, or Din Djarin, and Grogu have become to just the normie fans that, or people that weren't even Star Wars fans and decided, well, I'm sitting here at home during this, pandemic, I'm gonna watch this show, to be entertained. And everybody fell in love with both of those characters, and then they've continued to go on. 3 seasons in, I think I don't know what do you know what the watch numbers are as we got into season 3? I know some of the people weren't as excited or didn't think season 3 was up to standards, but was it still as popular as season 1 and 2?
Season 2 is the most popular, but season 1 and 3 are still, like, when you look at all the numbers, it's the Mandalorian's all the way up here for all 3 seasons, and then everything else is sort of like either Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett. They're all in the middle, and then your bottom ones are sort of your Skeleton Crews and your Andors, which is wild. But
criminal.
It's like night and day between this stuff and the Mandalorian. Like, it's all the way up here. So to your point, I think Din and Grogu, especially Grogu, are just as popular now in the mainstream of Star Wars to even the casual fans as Luke or Anakin. Like, especially Grogu's everywhere. Like, he is the face of Star Wars pretty much.
People still call him Baby Yoda to this day, man.
Well, that
I correct everybody.
Well, that's really hard to change when you think about it, because it's really cool that Ahsoka was the one who got to introduce his name, but when that second season dropped and that episode dropped, the reaction to Grogu was like, I don't really like that name. And then we kept saying it over and over and over again. And Grogu, it fits him so perfectly, but it was very hard because for a whole calendar year, people were going, that's Baby Yoda. And he became so popular so quickly that they didn't give him a name, and they fumbled it a little bit because they didn't think it would become that popular.
But like you said, he's still, right now, he is still the face of Star Wars at this point, and a Mandalorian, and Din Djarin. Even as much as the other Mandalorians that we have in there, we had Boba Fett in there, we had Ahsoka in there. The two of them are still the ones that, like, just as the numbers speak for themselves, is still holding high. So I think that movie, and I'm sure that they're probably planning on that, and I'm sure Dave has enough stories in his head, or that him and George have come up with, that they could do a trilogy for sure. That might not even be that Heir to the Empire type of thing. It might be Mandalorian and Grogu 2, Mandalorian and Grogu 3, or whatever they're going to call them, and start to bring these other characters into this. But to your point before, in reference to Thrawn, for this, what is the time frame? I mean, I know it's all sort of in that Mandoverse, but do we know exactly, is Mando sitting there with Grogu in their new little hut, when Thrawn comes back, or has he already come back, or are they going to, that's why I want to know where that timeline is for the Thrawn, and when this Grogu Mandalorian movie hits.
Well, what's great about the Mandoverse is that it's been in order to this day. When Ahsoka was coming out, people were concerned that a lot of it would take place like before Mando season 2, but not before this other thing. Like, they were trying to figure out when it takes place in the timeline. That would be really confusing if they didn't just do it the way they've been doing it, which is Mando season 1 is first in the timeline, then Mando season 2, then Book of Boba Fett, then Mando season 3, then Ahsoka, then Skeleton Crew. It's all in order of release, which is great. So the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, as we understand it, is supposed to continue that path. It will be after Ahsoka season 2, which means Thrawn is in the galaxy. Now, the time gap between Ahsoka season 2 and this movie, not a clue. It could be a couple months, could be a couple days, could be a couple years. We have no idea. So I'm guessing it be a couple months, but I'm assuming there's going to be an opening crawl. This is a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Now, Solo didn't have one, and Rogue One didn't have one, but this is sort of different. The fact that it could be the beginning of a trilogy, and I'll ask you guys, and of course the chat, what is this trilogy going to be called? Star Wars, other than the shows, because they're all over the place, it's very, number-based. Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3, Episode 4. What are they going to call this? If it's really a trilogy between 6 and 7, what are we calling this trilogy? Just a Mando trilogy, or like that? It's, you got the prequels, the originals, the sequels, Episode 1 through 3, Episode 4 through 6, Episode 7 through 9. What is this?
Derek?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to put up not a poll, but I'm going to do a question and answer of what Mike proposed.
Okay.
I think it will be something like the Mando. I think it'll be a Mando 3-pack. If we do the trilogy, I think that will be, because what else are you going to put it? You're not going to. You have prequels, you have sequels. We have the originals. So where do we go from here? If it's only going to be a standalone, then it's Mandalorian and Grogu. We already got the title for it. It's done. It's over with. But I think if you go on to the next one, Mandalorian and Grogu, such and such. I don't think it'll be 2. What it's going to be named, I don't know, but I think they'll do the same thing. I think all of them will be sort of like Star Wars. I think they will all be Mandalorian and Grogu. Maybe 2 with the Thrawn battles or whatever.
What if one of them is unalived?
One of them.
That's sort of, well, Grogu obviously wouldn't be, but that's been my theory. Now, I don't think they do it in the first movie that they bring Din Djarin into the big screen, but it would be something to bring all those characters together if Din Djarin died. And as we know, Pedro Pascal's this huge actor now, and he's all fancy. So maybe you don't want to pay him anymore to come do Din Djarin, or maybe you just want to kill off the character for the betterment of the story, whatever it may be. He has this connection to all these different characters, from Boba Fett to Ahsoka to Luke Skywalker to everybody, Bo-Katan, the Mandalorians. So his death would actually probably bring all these people together, especially if Thrawn kills him. I don't think they do it in the first movie still, but honestly, if they're doing a trilogy, I would bet all my life savings on the final one being called The Heir to the Empire. So that would beg the question of what's going to be the middle story. What's the title of it? Mandalorian Grogu 2. So Mandalorian Grogu 2, and then Heir to the Empire. I don't know.
I like Greg's the Creed trilogy.
Only if they get Scott Stapp in there somewhere.
For the band.
Star Wars.
That's kind of a question too. It's like, with this being kind of possibly set up to be another Infinity War, who all is going to be present? Because we've got Mandalorians, we've got Jedi, we've got bounty hunters, we've got pirates. I'm sure there's going to be a truly just untouchable, integrated force of characters in order to properly take down Thrawn, because no one group has ever taken them down. It always been kind of a ragtag mix of characters that have ever gotten the upper hand or have kept that one step ahead of him.
Well, I'd say. What you just said just sparked something in my brain, and I never thought of it this way, but this is absolutely genius. You mentioned how this is sort of the Infinity War, and there has to be this big old battle at the end. Where does that take place? Like, if you have characters like Luke, Leia, and Han showing up, you have the characters, like you said, pirates, bounty hunters, Mandalorians, all these people coming back together. You're exactly on the nose. That's exactly how it's going to end. Thrawn, Night Sisters, undead stormtroopers, remnant of the Empire, all that versus this ragtag group of Jod Nawood, Din Djarin, like Boba Fett, maybe Fennec Shand, like the Vespa gang. Why not? There's a bunch of random people coming around. But then Luke, Leia, and Han, of course, and more heroes, I guess, and Grogu, and hopefully a Mythazar and maybe a Zillo Beast. But where does that take place?
One can hope.
One of the coolest things is Dave Filoni and his sort of bringing all these things back to life, whether it's a Legends thing before or something that never happened or an idea that sort of got reworked. For example, Mount Tantus. Mount Tantus has not been reintroduced to canon the same way that it was in Legends. Like, we don't have Jorah Sabaoth. We don't have that happening with this Heir to the Empire stuff. Maybe we'll get a version of that, but we're not having that. Mount Tantus is the main thing in the Bad Batch. What I think's going on here, because we're getting the Maul series next year, and Maul having a Twi'lek apprentice, possibly Darth Talon, that's being the leader of the criminal underworld. That's George Lucas's sequel trilogy. That's exactly the idea that he had. So Dave goes, that's a great idea. Let me just rework it a little bit further back in the timeline and put it right there. Here you go. You get that greatness. There's a idea. There was an idea to bring together a group of episode 9, Colin Trevorrow's episode 9, originally was supposed to end with this huge battle on Coruscant. It was supposed to be this sort of run-down Coruscant where we're going to have Finn leading the resistance, rebels, whatever, versus the First Order and General Hux. What if this battle's on Coruscant? Because Coruscant is not the capital of the New Republic anymore. When it comes to... Oh, we're having some technical difficulties over there. I'm just going to keep on going. Oh, maybe not.
I can still hear you okay.
Oh, okay.
He's muted.
We'll just keep on going then. They're going to miss my grand idea. Coruscant is no longer the capital planet in the sequel trilogy. So what if the reason they move is because Thrawn goes and takes it, or Thrawn tries to take it, and there's a big old battle for Coruscant between your heroes in between Thrawn and the heir to the Empire. And that's where the final battle goes down. That's where the trilogy comes to an end. And that explains why Coruscant's not the main capital anymore of the New Republic. And it reworks another idea that was great before and fans really liked, like Dave Filoni's done time and time again.
Touche. I'm trying to text Ron. I think his mute button's on.
Well, yeah, they can still hear me. It's you guys.
Yeah, you just run with it, Mike.
I'll keep going.
I think you're absolutely right. Like, yeah, I'd say roll with it.
I can talk forever. Yeah.
Check.
There we go.
There we go.
He's back. Now he can't hear us though.
Oh, hello there.
That
we
happened
can hear
to
you
us earlier.
Well, I'll continue. So
please do.
The weirdest thing too is, of course, having to explain. Oh, got you. Can you hear me now?
Yep. Back.
Perfect. All right, cool.
All right, let me recap it really quickly. Okay, so the coolest part of Dave Filoni is him reworking stuff. So Colin Trevorrow's idea of having the final battle of Episode 9 being on Coruscant. Coruscant's no longer the capital planet of the New Republic by the time of the sequels. So why is that? Well, maybe the final battle versus Grand Admiral Thrawn is on Coruscant, and we see sort of the destruction of Coruscant and the reason that the New Republic has to leave. And that's where that final battle goes down. Night Sisters versus Luke Skywalker and Leia and Din Djarin and Grogu, and maybe Din Djarin dies, and maybe Harrison Dula dies, and maybe they all die. But that's where it goes down, and that explains a lot of things and does what Dave Filoni does best, bringing ideas that fans really love to the screen in front of us.
Well, and I think that would be fantastic. It's hard for me to think that they're going to bring, and I would love to see them, but it's hard for me to whether they're going to deep fake or recast for them to bring Han and Leia back in. Even I think they did a great job with the Luke recast or deep fake. I thought that was great. I thought they did a good job with that. Again, we've talked about the Bail Organa thing. It worked out. It is what it is. And if they recast them, it is what it is. But I think it's going to be interesting, or I don't even know if I'd want to see those two. I like the characters that we have already out there. And I think we have enough of them that are going to fight against Thrawn.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to do the Heir to the Empire without those three. And I think a lot of people would be upset if they weren't involved. It would honestly take more explaining to have them not be there.
Yeah.
Especially if, I mean, Leia could have been in Ahsoka already, but they sent C-3PO instead. Luke's obviously already been in there.
Right.
It would just feel wrong to not have them involved, even if it's just for like one scene at the end. Whether they deepfake or recast is going to be very, very important to many people, but you're never going to please everybody. There's so many people that would love to recast them, but then if you don't choose the actors that they want, they're going to be mad, or they want you to deepfake them, but if it doesn't look right, then they're going to be mad, or like there's just no pleasing everybody.
Right.
So just doing it to the best of your ability, like nobody was complaining about Luke in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah,
so if you can replicate that, it would be ideal.
Yeah, Greg had a good point. I think Billy Lord would be great for Leia. I mean, you could definitely recast her.
Yeah,
as
I've seen that.
Leia. But man, it's just interesting to see what they would do, because if you're gonna bring them, you're gonna have to bring Chewie back in there too. Because again, there's not many times you'd see Han without Chewie. And at this point, I'm gonna guess that Han and Leia are married. They're probably not separated yet. So what do we do? Where's and then where is Ben in this? How old is Ben? Is he in there? So it's
I'm with Greg though. I think we already have Han. We had Han. Just bring Alden back. I know a lot of people didn't like him. I loved him. I thought he was great. And to me, it's like people are like, well, he was so different than Harrison Ford. Well, he evolved. Like, there's a lot of time between there too.
I agree. I really liked Alden in Solo. My problem would be going from Alden to Harrison in the originals and then going back to Alden for the post originals and then going back to Harrison for the sequels. It would be a hard transition to make. Now they can do it, of course, but I think Alden worked so well because he worked so well as a young version of Han. He looked younger, and then Han, of course, grows up, but he grows up again to look like his younger self. It would look a little bit weird.
What if they used them and had a deep take on it?
Yeah, you could do that.
We're at that point.
Well, it's funny because we're sitting here talking about this, and we talk about this all the time, deep fake recast, where you can just tell that Dave, John, all these people are sitting in the back at Lucasfilm having the same exact conversation. What do we do? How do we do this? How do we bring all these people back to life?
Do the fans have any ideas?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They're in the chat right now. I know they are.
Obviously, their names are Greg and Steve.
And either Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau.
No, we've got like 6 people that are commenting, and we've got way more than that on here. So we know that there's some lurkers just getting those ideas.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think have been known to do that before, though. So
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, and there's enough stuff out there right now where there are channels like this where we're all talking about it and giving them suggestions or what we want to see or what we feel. And like Greg said, was it Joanna? How do you say Chewbacca's name now? What's that guy's name?
I think.
Jonas. I mean, he'd be ready, and we could definitely get a Chewbacca in there for sure. But getting those 3 OG characters back in there is going to be interesting for me to see how they do that. I think we have enough people in there now because they could be off doing something else. If Thrawn does become the biggest threat, they're going to have to somehow be involved in it. Even if they're, like you said, just mentioned at some point, because Leia could be off doing something and she can make a command decision to come down. She doesn't have to be there at that battle doing that at this point. Luke, I think Luke would have to be there, especially with his relationship now with Ahsoka and Grogu and even Din Djarin, which I thought was going to be, even more where we can bring all these people together with that. But it'll be interesting to bring the other two back in there.
It would be really crazy if they recasted them and they just had them in all 3 movies for like the whole movies. Like if we just got Luke, Leia, and Han for a whole new trilogy, like that would be so cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, like you get to see Leia and Han, like they fell in love in the original trilogy. You get to see them break up, and then you get to see Luke start to train Ben, and maybe the whole trilogy ends with Ben going to train with Luke, and then it sets up a animated show or something like that. It would be so cool.
Luke train. You could get to see Luke train Leia too.
Yeah,
which would be cool.
Prep her for the war against Thrawn.
You know.
Yeah.
It would be. I mean, it would be. Yeah, I think that would be cool if they could recast them. Again, you're still going to have people that are not going to like them at some point, But that's where I think people like us have to come in, and that's why we're going to enjoy it more, because we're not going to be picking at it. We're not going to be. It is what it is. Like I said with Benjamin Bratt, it is what it is. When you go back and watch Andor, now you just have to. I have to just switch a little bit and be like, okay, that's a different younger Jimmy Smits or something. And I think the same thing would happen, at least for me, to go into these 3 with 3 new recasts, to come up, and then they're in that. And there's another movie that they're redoing. I forget which one it is. It's not a Star Wars movie, but there's another movie that they're like a big movie that they're redoing. I don't know if anybody in the chat.
They're redoing Running Man, aren't they, with Miles Teller?
Yeah, it's not that one. It's something else. It was I don't know if it was a sci-fi one. I'll have to go back and look again. Maybe we can talk about it next week.
Not Miles Teller, Glenn Powell.
Okay. But no, there's a new one that they're getting ready to revamp, and I think it's all going to be all new characters, which will be interesting. But again, I think Star Wars is big enough, and you have a big enough crowd, and you have a young enough crowd coming up with the Clone Wars, with Rebels, and now, okay, maybe it is Harry Potter. Okay.
Oh yeah, they're making a whole like HBO series.
Yeah, they're remaking it, so they're obviously not going to use Daniel in there. Now I don't know if they'll use the other 2, main characters in that as well. But it's sort of like the same type of thing that we were talking about with the Skeleton Crew. You can't do a season 2 now. You can't start filming a season 2 now, because these kids have grown up so much in this the few teenage years or early 20s or however old they are. They're going to look way different. Going, oh, hey, Skeleton Crew 2 or season 2 is a year later, and they all look like they're 20 years old. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah. Neil's got a beard and a mustache.
I'm 12.
Well, Greg says in the chat, the Star Wars fandom has pretty much decided that Sebastian Stan would make a great Luke Skywalker. But even that, like, you'll find people who disagree with that. You'll find people who don't want Luke to be anybody but Mark Hamill. So it is always a sort of a give and take with that stuff. And going to the Skeleton Crew stuff, like you just mentioned, those characters will reappear, whether it's a season 2 or not. They'll be in some sort of movie or something, or when they all come together, maybe they'll be there. I don't know. But maybe Wim goes to Luke's Jedi Temple, wherever they show up next. Obviously, they'll look a lot older, but hopefully they work the timeline around that. Could be year gaps between these projects. Like, for all we know, there's plenty of time before the sequel trilogy. So we got that time to figure it out. But I'd love to see more of those guys.
What if that first Mando Grogu movie ends with Thrawn taking over at Aden?
I hope so.
And that's how the Skeleton Crew gets included. Oh, that'd be such a good plot point.
They could get included in that.
He literally takes the mine.
Well, somebody put that in here that's how he gets his capital. Then it's like that's how he gets his money.
Exactly. He needs
capital.
Yeah, he's got to fund his army. Like, he just came back from being away for 11 years, and he comes back to there being no empire. Like, he needs some sort of backing to his army, and that would be it. It would be cool if they did that. It's like the final scene is him taking out Atten, like you said, and then it's like you know how Marvel does the Fantastic Four will be seen in Avengers, whatever.
Yeah,
they were just like Skeleton Crew will return in season 2. Like they announced it that way. That'll be really cool.
Yeah. Well, and isn't Dathomir is very close to At-Aten, correct? In that map,
Right next to each other, literally right next to each other. The two closest planets, pretty much on the map.
and they didn't put that map out there just because.
No,
or place those planets together just because.
Breadcrumbs.
That was placed. That map is pretty much all because of the Mandoverse. Like when you look at the map, there's missing planets from Andor, there's missing planets from the Acolyte, there's missing planets from all over the place, except for the Mandoverse. All the Mandoverse stuff is tightly in order and good and in place. So they clearly are setting up At-Aten being next to Dathomir, and both those planets being very close to Wayland, which is the planet where Mount Tantus is. All those planets in Mandalore all being in the same sort of area, because that's where all this is going to happen. Yeah. How far is At-Aten and Dathomir from Exegol? Very far. Exegol's off in the middle of nowhere in the unknown regions. Yeah.
It's in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have to, because again, how are they funding the First Order after this? And so, unfortunately, I think that the bad guys are going to take At-Aten, because obviously, as we see in the sequels, the First Order is the big bad guy at this point.
I have an issue with Skeleton Crew. I got an issue with Skeleton Crew. I'm going to say it, okay? My issue with Skeleton Crew is that they win. They should have taken the biggest L ever. Like, they should have drawn an L on Neil's face because they lost so bad. Like, At-Aten shouldn't have been taken by the New Republic. It should have been like a Star Destroyer that pops in, and they think they're saved. They're all applauding. They're like, yeah, we're saved. And they all think that they're fine. They all think they've won. But we know as the audience that that's the Chimera, or that's some Star Destroyers. That's the bad guys. But they don't know that. And that would set up the next thing. The fact that it's the New Republic right now, it doesn't really set up the next thing, And honestly, maybe it allows Thrawn to get a win versus the New Republic by taking their planet, but it would be awesome if you already had it. Like, it would set up this Mando movie, and it would set up Ahsoka season 2 a lot more, and it would make you want a Skeleton Crew season 2. It wouldn't. Skeleton Crew, when it ended in such a nice way, where the good guys won and Jod was defeated and everything was nice, that people just stopped talking about the show, because it was a great show. I want more of those characters, but there wasn't really a setup for a season 2. There wasn't a setup for more of these characters, really.
Right.
No cliffhanger. And then Andor is right around the corner, so people just started talking about that. So Skeleton Crew's kind of been left in the dust. If it ended on this crazy, oh my God, the bad guys are here, then maybe we'd be still wanting talking about it.
Well, there's still, I mean, it's not necessarily a huge cliffhanger, but there's still some major questions that need to be answered in that show. Like, to me, seemed like there's obvious that there's going to be a season 2.
A continuation of the story. I don't know about a season 2.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Well, but like Mike said, I think also because, for us, there's things that need to be closed off, and there's stories that need to. But for the normal fan that just wanted to watch that, it's like, oh, okay, that was a cool 6-8 episode. Okay, it's over with. Cool. Now I'm going to go watch my I'm going to go binge my next project or whatever. Where for us, we want more. We want those answers. We want those cliffhangers, so that we can continue to talk about it. Same with Omega. We can't not talk about Omega. She's definitely going to be in here at some point.
I would say that's a thing too. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, with Skeleton Crew having such a definite ending, that's kind of keeping true to the Star Wars way, because when the first Star Wars movie came out, it wasn't even called New Hope, right? It was just Star Wars.
Correct.
And it had a beginning and it had an end. As far as they knew, the story was over. Darth Vader was beaten, the Death Star was destroyed, everyone was rewarded their medals except for Chewie for some unknown reason. And
racism.
Roll credits, the movie's over. They didn't really think people are going to like this. We want to get more. So with Skeleton Crew, sadly, because of that, it's kind of like, to that catch-22, they shot themselves in the own foot. They're kind of keeping true to the way. If people really want it, it'll either build up popularity even well after the show's release, or people like us talking theories, spitting ideas. Ad is so close to Dathomir. Ahsoka ends with Thrawn coming back to this base galaxy. How can we not expect, if not a a name being tossed, or a quick scene with the characters that we've seen in this other project? How can we not expect a continuation of the story, whether it's a season 2, another show where the characters are more based into the overall storyline that's happening? Because this, as far as I can tell, even though it is between sequels and the original trilogy, it is still its own standalone storyline, because the only characters we can rely on to be present from the original trilogy would be the big three: Luke, Leia, and Han. But even that's kind of up in the air of how present or how huge of a part they're going to play with a character that they have such a huge history with, strictly in the legends.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. Well, in like Thrawn getting wins, like you said, we got to see him actually become the heir of the Empire. The thing that people have been saying, and even in tonight's chat, people have been saying, like, Thrawn's missing the part of his character where he's so strategically a genius. Ahsoka gives a good introduction to Thrawn for live action, but it doesn't really show us the Thrawn we even saw in Rebels or in Legends or in canon novels even. He's got to be strategic and sort of figure this out. And him, like you said, taking Atten in the Heir to the Empire trilogy specifically, he's always, every time Pelion walks in the room, he's got a bunch of holograms up. He's planning everything. He's doing all this stuff. He's got these boards where he's, this war boards or whatever you want to call them, where he's figuring out all this stuff. It'd be really cool to see an opening scene of Grand Admiral Thrawn, whether it's in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie or Ahsoka season 2. It's him sitting there with a bunch of holograms or a board around him, and there's Atten like big and circled a bunch of times, and then there's like Mandalore circled a bunch of times, or you know what I mean, like these significant places that he wants to go here first, there first, next, because he's the strategical genius. That's what makes him better than everybody else. He's always 10 steps ahead. He doesn't have the Force, so we got to see that, and I think we have the opportunity again before we ever see him get defeated or even get to see him go toe-to-toe with anybody of significance. He can get a bunch of wins riled up over the next couple of projects where he is so strategic with what he's doing, taking Atten to get the funds, taking Wayland to get the cloning facility or whatever he wants on Mount Tantus, taking Mandalore because he knows the Mandalorians are not doing well, and cloning facility. I mean, it did blow up in season 3, but cloning facility, Moff Gideon, he did a pretty good job there. My clones, no, but we'll see a bunch of that stuff where he gets win, and it's perfectly planned out from the beginning, already in his head and on paper, and we can see that as the audience. Like, it would be awesome to see him have a trail of breadcrumbs that leads directly to Coruscant or an inner world where the big conflict happens.
Well, and Steve just brought up exactly what I was going to say. I wonder if when he goes to Atten, is John Nawad there, and is he going to turn back to being a pirate and say, F it, let's go, here's the money. The kids escape, they go off, we find them, maybe they fight the next movie, the next episode, whatever happens. But he gets on there and Thrawn comes in and he sees Thrawn's a bad guy. He's like, hey, I might as well join this guy again, because again, he's sentimental a little bit, but he's an asshole as well. On that. I mean, you're gonna hold a lightsaber up to a young girl's neck. I mean, come on, dude. You're still a badass. In a bad way. Not in a cool way.
The badass.
Well, honestly, I think it could lead to getting a great character arc for Jod, because the latest we heard with that is Jude Law's going to be in a lot of Star Wars moving forward. So we're going to get a lot more Jod moving forward. And if he does join Thrawn, that would be awesome. And then it could even make for an even better character arc. I think by the end, Jod will either sacrifice himself and turn to the light, or save the kids, or do whatever. I think he'll end up as a good guy. But Skeleton Crew sort of set him up for that, because he is just a doesn't care about anybody type deal. But a little bit towards the end of that season, he kind of feels for the kids. Like, he had chances to maybe either kill them or whatever, but he didn't, and he just sort of wanted the money and all that stuff. He's a pirate. Maybe he comes around eventually, but it'll take some time. Character development. But if he does join Thrawn, that would be so cool. Thrawn takes AT-AT and he's like, I can help you out. I got the Force. I got a lightsaber. Like, I can help you out. That'd be really, really cool. And maybe he's our maybe he's our canon Jorah Sabaoth. Like, it could be.
Now, could we get any of the Skeleton Crew characters in Ahsoka season 2?
I mean,
I don't think we will, but
if he's
really cool.
If Ahsoka season 2 is where he's going to take AT-AT, and then maybe. I feel like everything's been done with a purpose up until this point. Like all these different shows being connected. Boba sitting on the throne on Tatooine, the Mandalorians having reclaimed Mandalore, like everything's being set up for something. And Skeleton Crew's just the same. Like they did that show for a reason. They did all that stuff for a reason. So those characters will have whether it's just Jod or the kids too, or all of them, they'll have a purpose in all this.
I feel like Jason's gonna have Hera Syndulla's kid. I feel like he's gonna have a huge part with the Skeleton Crew as well if they try to intermingle them. Because how else are you gonna have a bunch of kids connect with this main conflicting force with our main antagonist that's being brought along? So I feel like that's gonna be the best way to bridge together Skeleton Crew to the rest of the story. Like Jason's gonna either befriend one of the kids, or maybe he's gonna get a crush on the girl who was constantly trying to take charge. I mean, anything could go, really. I think that would be like the most logical way of making them connect and have the Skeleton Crew kids present without making it weird about having a bunch of kids in the middle of a firefight.
True. You could have it because the New Republic does control AT-AT now that maybe in Ahsoka season 2, Hera is on AT-AT with Jason and they're hanging out together. Like you could set the stage for that. Yeah, absolutely. How cool would it be, though, because Wim does technically have the lightsaber at the end of season 1, if Wim, Jason, and Ben Solo all go to Luke's Jedi Temple and train? Like, that would be awesome. And then they all, of course, die to Ben Solo, but that's like...
that'd be so bad.
Well, my favorite theory that came up recently was that Hera dies...
What?
I'm sorry. Go on. Okay. Ride your throne of shame.
Show's over.
That wasn't the point, okay? Hera dies for a purpose. Hera dies to Thrawn the same way that sort of the Kanan does. And now Jason's lost both his mom and his dad to this guy, and he's not happy about it. And as we know, Jason Solo from Legends falls to the dark side, kills Mara Jade, whatever. Jason Syndulla falling to the dark side, maybe because his mom dies, would be pretty damn cool if I do say so myself. But it would be awesome because Hera has to die. No, but characters like Hera aren't in the sequel trilogy. The Ghost is, but Hera's not. So the question has to be like, the coolest part about the Thrawn stuff, other than Luke, Leia, and Han, everybody's at risk. Like, as great as Andor is, because it is awesome, they had to introduce so many new characters to give you the stakes of these people might die. All the people on Gorman, gone. All the people on Aldhani, gone, except for Vel. Andor, is going to survive. And Mon Mothma, too. But other than that, everybody's at risk. Same can be said about this Mandoverse. Everybody except for Luke, Leia, and Han are at risk because none of them are in the sequel trilogy. Even Grogu, but even though Grogu's going to live for the next 800 years, everybody else is at risk of dying.
It's very true.
Jason Syndulla, dark side.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
Well, and I think
Jar Jar.
That's the thing that we have to worry about, or not. That's not worry, but think what's going to come to fruition with that is, like you said, those three still have to go on. But you also have, I think, with Andor, it brings up a good separation from everything else with the galaxy being so big, and to go back to bring in Luke, Leia, and Han in. The galaxy is big enough where we see this in Andor. There's no Skywalkers. There's no lightsabers. There's none of that Skywalker stuff or the Mando stuff is even brought into it. So I think that we can have them being somewhere else doing something, just like who knows what Ahsoka was doing during the original 3. What Jason Syndulla is doing, during this time, because it is such a large universe. And I think that, and I also think that they didn't do that for just to throw it up and have a great 2 seasons of Andor. It opens this up and says, hey, listen, it's not all about the Skywalkers and the Jedi. It's about good. It's about good and evil. So we have enough characters on the good side. We have Thrawn with his Death Stormtroopers, and now the Night Sisters, which we're all assuming are getting brought back to life, so that he has some sort of army to take over again before the First Order. So I think it'll be interesting to see what we do with those characters, and when these other ones start coming into these either live action or movies.
Steve said in the chat, my thought is, I wonder if Thrawn knows who Jod is. Thrawn is very known for like remembering everything and knowing everybody. He's been gone for 11 years, so obviously he knows who the Ghost Crew are. He had a lot of history with them. He'll know who all these older characters are, but he won't know who Din Djarin is.
Right.
He won't know. I guess he'll know Bo-Katan. He'll know Boba Fett. He won't know like Cobb Vanth. I don't think he'd know Jod. Like Jod was a nobody,
right?
Really, before that.
You're right.
It would be cool if you knew Grogu, because Grogu is like the most well-kept secret from the Jedi. And then post Order 66, if he knew, like, imagine he meets Grogu for the first time. He's like, "Oh, Grogu." Yeah, we're just like, "What? How does he know him?" That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be interesting, because again, like you said, he knows. Like when Balin, I just watched that episode when Balin introduces himself to Thrawn, he's like, "Oh, General Balin."
Yes,
he knows exactly who he is, but he doesn't know who Ahsoka is. Because he wants all the information on Ahsoka. He wants who her master was, who this was. So once he finds out, now he can say, like, I don't know if it was Greg or Steve or whoever said it earlier, is I know you because I know your master.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing with him. Because so I think you're right, Mike. I don't think he will know Jod. I think Grogu was probably either too young still, as where he was in the Jedi Temple, that he would remember him. I mean, that would be interesting and very peculiar to see how it people react to him going Grogu. But I think that he's not going to know a lot of these newer people, but he will know some of them. Obviously, he knows all of the rebels, or from the Rebel show in the Ghost Crew.
Bring back Zeb.
Oh, he's coming back.
Oh, he's coming back. Yeah, Zeb will be in The Mandalorian and Ahsoka season 2, which is great. But Greg even says more new characters. What's cool about that scene you just described too is Baylan Skoll and Shin, but Baylan Skoll is a brand new character in Ahsoka season 1, and you're like, this guy's so awesome. I want to know his backstory. I want to know more about him. And as soon as Thrawn meets him and he goes, "Oh yeah, I know you." Like, you're like, what the hell? Like, this is a brand new character I just met, and Thrawn already knows him, and Thrawn's been away for a decade. Like, what's going on here? Like, that's some really cool character development stuff right there.
Yeah, and he knows he's a general, or he was a general, and he was part of the Jedi Order, and Baylan says, well, I haven't been part of the Jedi Order for a long time.
Yeah.
But still, he remembers him as a Jedi. And then even as we get further into the episode, he says, they find out that Ahsoka's coming, and he's like, well, Baylan said that, she's dead. And he's like, well, he was a Jedi. So then that's at that point, he's pretty much like, I don't really care about your mercenaries. So Sabine and Ezra and your mercenaries can stay here for all I care. Our priority is to get the hell out of here, and I'm going to go back and, raise all these people from the dead, go to AT-AT and get some money and just make it happen.
Past issues aside, I'm getting the hell back to where I know I can conquer.
Yeah.
Well, another thing would be a character that he would know, Cal Kestis. Cal Kestis, he's a survivor of Order 66. He's probably around the same age, probably a little bit younger, but around the same sort of age-ish of Baylan Skoll. Like, Baylan's probably on the older side, but even still, like, they were both around before Order 66. If you're around before Order 66, chances are Thrawn's going to know who you are. So Cal would be another one.
I would say Cal would be probably closer in age to maybe Ezra than that, because if
Ezra was born. Yeah, but Ezra was born the same day Luke was on Empire Day.
Right.
Valid.
Yeah.
Well, now what if Thrawn brings back his people, the Chiss?
That's a weird thing that's been left out of the story because, well, I guess because people have been bringing this up. Thrawn's intention is to always protect his people. It's always to protect his people, whatever. In the Heir to the Empire trilogy, his people aren't brought up once. Like they're not around. So I don't know if that's a route they're going to go down. In the Thrawn canon novels, it's definitely something that's the whole reason he joins the Empire is to protect his people. And there's the whole looming threat of the Grisk out there. So it would be very interesting to see how they play that out. What's the reasoning for Thrawn taking over the Empire or taking over the galaxy? Because I don't think it's the same as Palpatine where he just wants a lot of power. I think he's actually trying to protect his people, but protect them from what? That's what I really think people are missing from Ahsoka Season 1 is the fact that he's running, absolutely sprinting as fast as he can to get off of that planet because he knows that there's some sort of threat there. The threat that Baylan Skoll is looking for, this thing that will end this cycle of good versus evil, he's running from that. So maybe he's going back to the galaxy to prepare for war, to prepare for that threat that's going to come across the galaxies at some point later down the line. Maybe he's warning everybody about Abeloth or warning everybody about something and nobody listens. It would be crazy to think that Thrawn is somehow the hero in all this. And it would be like the crazy people who are going, Thanos was right. Like,
that's actually crazy.
It would be wild because he has to have a reason. Thrawn's not a bad guy for bad guy's sake. He's not evil like Palpatine. He's trying to protect his people, and he's doing it in the way that he can only statistically make sense because that's how he works. Right. So what is his reasoning for this? It would be really, really crazy if by the end of this, the reason we don't hear about Grand Admiral Thrawn in the sequel trilogy is because he wasn't really a threat. Like he's like, no, guys, look, I'm trying to help you out here. Like we got a pretty big threat in a different galaxy over there. So we might want to pay attention to that instead of this over here. And then that's maybe how the First Order rises to power too, because they're not looking. Right. They're not looking at that side of the galaxy. They're not looking for another threat. They're looking at Thrawn, and Thrawn's like, well, I'm not the threat either.
Do we know where was it Chisilla or however you say it? Do we know where their planet is on the map?
The Chiss?
Yeah.
I believe it's in the unknown regions. Let me double check. Hang on.
I would say because he's always had a respect for culture. That's one detail I remember about him, especially from Rebels. Whenever him and Hera were talking on his ship in his like main office, he was discussing with her about like respect for her culture. He's got all different art pieces, one of which just happens to be a family heirloom of Hera's. And he's like, you recognize this, don't you?
Yeah. Okay, so it is in the unknown regions. It's very far out there, actually. It's kind of not near, but almost near Exegol. It's sort of south of that. It's very much out there, like very out in the unknown region. So I don't know what the deal is with that. Maybe that's sort of the explanation as to why we don't see more Chiss in the regular galaxy, because they're all very far away.
That would be a great like Infinity War ending. Like Infinity War's dusting would be they actually like if not beat Thrawn, then like get the upper hand against him and like we got him cornered, we finally got him, and then like just like completely blocking out the sunlight. Like what the hell is that?
Yeah,
and it's this enemy that he's been trying to warn and unite everyone against under his idea, because who is going to be better tactician mind than Thrawn?
Well, also it could be like Thrawn's like maybe it's the Grisk, because the Grisk are supposed to be set up as sort of the canon Vong, where they're going to be this species that's very, very powerful, and we haven't really seen that before. We've seen multiple Sith, but not a whole species. So what if Thrawn, like you said, when they defeat him, he's like, I'm not really the threat. And maybe years and years and years go by where he warned them of this crazy threat that never came. And then it's not until the post-sequel world, maybe it's Rey's New Jedi Order, when the Grisk finally arrive. And they're maybe led by like a Matt Smith or a Mia Goth or and tie it all back together. But that would be really cool if he was like, no, guys, look, there's this big threat that's coming. and then everybody just passes, like as Thrawn's dying, he's like Grisk, and they're all like, what? and and he warns them, but they're all like, okay, that never came, so they don't care, and then they all die, and then years and years later, then they show up, and they're like, oh well, Thrawn was right, he warned us about this and we didn't listen, and then maybe all hell breaks loose. I don't know.
That would be a cool transition into the Rey, whatever you want to call it, timeline or galaxy or whatever, to bring them in as the bad guys. As everything else sort of subsides, you have the First Order that's gone now. You're still going to have an antagonist. You're still going to have a bad guy in these movies as they continue to go on for hopefully the next 20, 30 years. Yeah, no.
Bring him back.
He's returned from the dead.
Again.
We know that everybody loves that. So let's do it again.
Fan favorite line, actually.
Fan favorite. The dead speak.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting.
I just want Thrawn to be not done correctly, but to be done correctly. Like, I want him to not just be evil for evil's sake. We've seen that with Palpatine. We need a villain that's sort of got his own reasons for things, and his reasons make sense. Not that Thanos makes sense, because it doesn't. He wants to just kill half of everybody, but he wants to do it for a reason in his own head that seems right. He wants to do it so that everybody else can thrive because there's not enough resources or whatever he says. It's a bad example, but we need a reason for him, or for people to almost agree with him and almost look like, okay, maybe we shouldn't be fighting this guy. And then maybe that's when the First Order comes in, or maybe that's when the Grisk comes in, or maybe that's when Abeloth comes in. But that's a bigger threat, I guess.
True. Yeah. Well, and there's two things here on the chat, and I'm going to talk about both of them a little bit. But I think Zima has a good point. As much as we all like the Marvel stuff, I don't want to see it look like the Marvel when everybody's coming together, whether it's Civil War or the last one, whatever, because it's not going to be unique. So hopefully they will do that in a little bit of a different way. At that point,
Star Wars has always been its own thing where it's not really following anybody else's footsteps, and I can't imagine like a portal scene like in Endgame in Star Wars. Like everybody just lines up here and everybody lines up there, and then we charge each other. I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
especially with the weird crew that we have. Like I don't see Din Djarin standing next to Jod or the kids from Skeleton Crew, and then they all go 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah, no, I don't see that happening.
No, I think you're right. And then Evan does have a good point. That under Thrawn, that they pretty much eliminated the Lasat, Zeb's people.
True.
Which, Zeb's still not going to be very happy with that if he comes across that big blue meanie, for sure.
Well, and more so to the not doing Marvel thing, Star Wars also has the space battles, and that's sort of a big thing that I think is going to happen, especially with Thrawn, because he doesn't have the Force, and it's not going to be a bunch of one-on-one lightsaber duels. You're going to have a bunch of big old space battles where you're going to have a lot of TIE fighters versus X-Wings and all that stuff, and the M1 Starfighter going around. Like I could see in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, Din Djarin in the N1 zooming around because it's so badass, and we're watching this cool like almost opening of Revenge of the Sith type scene, and he's flying around maybe the Chimera and just shooting things down. Like a lot of those space scenes, at least space battle stuff, is what's gonna, I guess, make it different from everything else. I don't think Star Wars needs to do that because it's already so much different than everything else, but yeah.
Well, and that's what Dave has said, right? And that what he said about the Mandalorian and Grogu, is it right? Is that the one that he's saying, that there's going to be wars in Star Wars?
He said that about the Ahsoka season 2.
Okay.
Because he said, like, in Peridea, we're going to be doing Ahsoka and the whole explanation of what was going on with Bail and Skull. And then in the other galaxy, our regular galaxy, there's going to be a war in our Star Wars between Thrawn and the New Republic, but Thrawn and Akbar specifically. So
do you think that going back to Ahsoka season 2 will, and I know you were talking about it'll mainly be, I think you're right, on Peridea with Sabine and Ahsoka, but are they all, and you have Shin and you have Balin, are all four of them going to be doing this Mortis Gods thing, trying to find Abeloth, or are Ahsoka and Sabine going to do something over here? And then, because Shin's on her own with the, whatever, but it's some point, all four of them, I think, have to come together, whether it's against each other or, maybe the three of them against Balin because he is trying to release Abeloth. It'll be interesting to see. And then, we'll have some of this stuff with Thrawn and Hera and Ezra. I mean, because we're definitely going to see a lot of Ezra just because of what we've seen recently, on social media with him, showing the lightsaber stuff, showing, no beard and the short hair. So that's definitely going to be, a prominent sequence in that series. But this Peridia stuff is going to be interesting to see all four of these characters and somehow, like I said, come together at some point, whether it's together or together against each other.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much. We still don't even know if it's going to be Abeloth. Like, it could be something else completely. But the Mortis God setup at the end of the season makes you think Abeloth, and it makes you think at least something in terms of Mortis Gods, which is going to be great. But how they do it is going to be weird because it's 8 episodes. You can't really. Shin's going off joining the bandits, and what are Sabine and Ahsoka going to be doing? Just training? Obviously, they're going to be chasing Balin Skull and trying to figure out where he went, but it almost doesn't feel like an 8-episode arc, and maybe that's why there's this whole war in our Star Wars, so that they can bounce back and forth and almost like waste time, not waste, but obviously spend more time. The one leaked image that's got me most excited about the whole Shin aspect of the story is there's a leaked thing from Star Wars Celebration where it's Shin right outside of Ahsoka's ship, and she's going toe to toe with Hu Yang, who has four lightsabers like he's General Grievous, and like that stuff is going to be really, really cool. But I really don't know if they're going down the road of Abeloth. How does that even work? Like, what's a prison that controls one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy? What does that look like?
Right.
How does that even work? How do they get her out of the prison? Even if Balin Skull is trying to get there to free her, how does that work? Like, there's so many questions. Like, and how do you explain the Mortis Gods to the normie fans? If season 1 was supposed to be able to watch without having seen anything else before, how is season 2 going to do that when you have no idea who the Mortis Gods are? I don't know. There's a lot that needs to go down.
Right. Yeah, there definitely needs to be a lot of explanation on the Mortis Gods in Ahsoka, because unless you're people like us that have watched the Clone Wars and have an idea of and we really still don't know. Like you said, all those questions need to be answered. How did she get imprisoned there? How are they going to get her out? What happens when she does get out? Because if she does get out, I mean, there's really not much or anybody that can control her from what that's
the issue.
Right.
If she gets out in Ahsoka, what's going on? Like, really, what's going on? Because if she gets back before the sequel trilogy, how is that not talked about in the sequel trilogy? That's the issue. She's the most powerful being alive right now. Like, period. End of sentence. Like, she's that powerful. If she makes it to the other galaxy, there's no stopping that. Or, of course, they have to stop that. But there's no stopping that in a way where she doesn't cause an insane amount of damage that's talked about during the sequel trilogy, at least mentioned. So I think they're holding off Abeloth till post-sequels, at least. And Ahsoka being maybe the daughter or something along those lines is going to allow her to contain her on Peridia for the time being and just be a safety valve for Abeloth. But there's no way where she gets out. I just can't imagine it.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point there too, as well, because Ahsoka says at the end, we're where we need to be.
Yeah.
So whether she knows it's to contain Abeloth or whatever she's thinking, if it's just she's just thinking, okay, maybe just me and Sabine need to be here and work on this, whole Padawan and Master thing, or Does she know, hey, I need to be here for something else? I'm just not sure what yet. Or does she, because did they remember the Mortis gods after the series?
So actually, I was corrected on this. I thought they all forgot.
Okay.
They don't.
Oh.
The only thing that they forget, or the only thing that Anakin forgets, is he's shown his future. So
Correct.
the son
Being
shows
Darth
him his
Vader.
future and turns him sort of to the dark side. And the father's like, we got to fix this. But if we do, then he'll forget all this stuff or whatever. And he uses sort of his last bit of power to do that, to make Anakin forget his future. So he forgets his future. But all the stuff from talking to Qui-Gon in the cave, Ahsoka talking to her older self, they all remember that. I watched this recently, actually. We just finished season 3, so we just watched this arc. They all remember that. And when they get back, Rex goes, oh, you guys were off our screen for a second there. And they were like, 1 second. And he's like, yeah, what do you mean? He's like, oh, nothing. Like, they joke about it. They all remember. So Ahsoka remembered. Maybe she doesn't remember dying and being brought back to life. I'm not too sure. But she remembers all the other stuff that happened there. Older Ahsoka comes to her in that cave and warns her. I forget what she says. Something about maybe Anakin or something about leaving the Jedi. Oh, I forget. But she remembers that. So there is some sort of memory that is there.
Yeah, that whole thing is just going to be interesting to see how they bring it to fruition and explain it and or contain it, because there is something there at the end with Balin and the Mortis gods. You know, he's not standing on that arm, and we don't see those statues for no reason whatsoever.
Yep. Well, the perfect explanation for the audience and for people who didn't see the Mortis gods would just be a training sequence between Ahsoka and Sabine. Couldn't be more simple. Much like Obi-Wan explaining the Jedi, explaining the Force to Luke in A New Hope. Sure. She could just be like, look, we were on a mission. There was a signal in the unknown regions or a signal out in the Outer Rim. We get there and this happens. And as she's telling her, we get flashbacks. Ariana Greenblatt, Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, all in their Clone Wars gets and going on Mortis doing the thing. And we just get a recap of all of that. It would be awesome. That's the way to do it, though. That's the way to do it. You give the fans what they want, which is Ewan and Hayden in their Clone Wars outfits. And you just explain the whole Mortis God arc as quick as possible. Just Ahsoka telling a story to Sabine. Very sort of similar to, I guess, they set it up in season 1 where they're on their way to Peridia and Ahsoka says, tell me a story or whatever, and he goes, in a galaxy far, far away. So maybe something like that.
Yeah, that would be a cool way to, again, you could explain it. It's not going to take that long. Yep. You're going to give the people what they want. Like you said, throw a couple of the old school characters in there with their, Clone Wars outfits on, do this, do that. And then now we can come up to where we are in this story. You don't need much more explanation for that, and we can move forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
and it doesn't use the World Between Worlds, because that's a big thing. The World Between Worlds is something that shouldn't be utilized.
Yes.
Or if it is, it's very, very sparsely. The only character that seems to be connected to right now is Ahsoka. She's the one who's been in it twice, or saved by it twice, I should say.
Yeah.
And honestly, that makes me think Ezra's a lot more powerful than we think. But I mean, the only person who was able to pull somebody out that was alive was Ezra. Anakin does it, seemingly, in Ahsoka season 1, but he's dead. But either way, I don't think the World Between Worlds should be used like maybe ever again. Or if it is, it's in a long time from now. Definitely not in season 2 of Ahsoka. Like, that should be a one and done thing. It's the perfect way of Ahsoka is really going down the wrong path here. She dies to Balin, or almost dies to Balin, and Anakin teaches her last lesson. It works perfectly. But don't bring it back in season 2 just to explain the Mortis gods. Don't bring it back in season 2 just to keep somebody alive or whatever. Just
I said a long time ago that they could bring it back and just erase the sequels. It was just a vision. Ha surprise. You don't have to hate us anymore. We got you.
To circle it all back together, we're talking about the Kylo Ren comics. there's still pieces of the sequels. The reason it'll never be retconned is because there's still pieces of it like Kylo Ren that fans love. Kylo Ren's a great character.
Yeah.
And getting more of him in comics and stuff, that just makes his character even better. So it makes the sequels even better. It's the same that can be said about making a Rey movie that's awesome. It makes you like Rey more. It makes you like Rey's origin story more.
Yeah.
And it goes over and over and over again. Like, you like Anakin more after watching the Clone Wars. You like Obi-Wan more. You like Luke Skywalker more after seeing the Book of Boba Fett, even though it happens after the fact. So there's just that's how the sequels are going to work. Until we fill out this timeline, people are still going to just complain about it, and people will complain about it forever. They still complain about the prequel trilogy now. They still complain about the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi. Like, they're never going to stop complaining. But you might get some people to come around.
Monsters. People are monsters. How dare they talk
Bring
about
back the Ewok adventures.
Yes.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah. No Christmas holiday stories.
Oh, come on.
That's the funny thing about it, though, because people crap on a lot of stuff that comes out now, and some maybe deservingly so, some maybe not. But like stuff like Resistance, like, we're really going to crap on Resistance when it's clearly made for a way younger audience. It's the same thing with the holiday special, the same thing with the Ewok adventures. Like, that stuff's not made for the, I guess, it's made more geared towards younger kids, and not everybody's going to like that, but that's not like the end of the world.
Right. Yeah, well, and I think that's what we do here and you do on your show. It's the people that love Star Wars besides us. I mean, we're all here, we're all positive about it. We're not bashing anything. We're not, there's things that sure we would like to see, or we'd like to see this character come back, or things like that. It's a whole different thing. I was actually going to put in, and I know because you get so many on yours, one of my episodes that I don't think anybody ever would have it, on their top 20 would be Ambush, because you get to see a little bit more of Yoda, and obviously that's my guy. And even though it's the very first episode, but you get to see him interact with these clones. So everybody has their own thing with Star Wars, no matter what it is. As much as all four of us love it, we all have our own favorite things, our own things that we're not so favorable about, but we still enjoy it, and we're not bashing on it with anything like that. And I think it's just such a good community to come in and talk about it, and talk about these what ifs and what's going to happen when this stuff comes out, and what's going to happen with this live action and some more. I mean, we're talking about these two things that, we're excited about, but like you said, we're getting this Maul series before any of those two things. We're getting a full season, hopefully, 18 to 24 episodes worth of, and they might even run across into, because we don't have do we have a release date for Maul yet?
No.
Okay. So we might have some overlap.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I think
depending on when it comes out.
Yeah. Well, I think Maul's going to come out early in the season. I mean, early in the year. Then Mando sort of mid, which is May, and then Ahsoka maybe August or September. So that's how they'll...
But if you're looking at Maul and it's going to stick to Bad Batch, Clone Wars, Rebels, what are you're looking at 18 weeks, 24 weeks? I mean, that's a bunch of months.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. If it even starts in like February or January, you're going to run until probably May.
Which would be cool. Then we won't get a gap, or as much of a gap, in between for all of us, and we get to watch this, and then we get to go right into the Mandalorian and Grogu movie again, and then Ahsoka comes out. So like you've said before, 26 is going to be an amazing Star Wars year. Hopefully we'll get a Tales as well in there somewhere, which would be cool. But everything I think is going to just run continuously next year, into that, which will be cool. And then we get into 27, where Celebration's coming up, where A New Hope turns 50, all these other, I don't even know if we have a release date for Starfighter yet. Is that 27?
It's May, Memorial Day weekend. I don't know what the date is, but May of 2027.
Okay. So we have, like I said, we've been talking about these two shows, and we still have this whole first season of Maul to maybe fill in some things. I don't think it's going to really react to too much to Mandalorian and Grogu or Ahsoka.
Yeah.
But there might be some things in there that, like they've done all along, to bring in or put little Easter eggs here and there for us for Mandalorian and Grogu or Ahsoka in the future.
And to tie it all back, it'd be great if the Maul series sets up Darth Talon, and Darth Talon is Mia Goth in the Starfighter movie. That would be awesome.
Yeah. And again, that would be so cool if they have to see that. If we see that, they have to see that. Dave has to see that.
Yeah. Well, that's the issue. We were talking about it earlier. They're always watching the fans and what we say. Right. And obviously they can't be in every chat like this, and they're probably not here right now, but they are. So tell us.
They are. They are here. They are.
But they can listen to this. But the problem is, when we speculate about stuff, because we know that it's coming, they don't want it to be what we say. They want it to be good and sort of close to what we're saying, but they don't want it to be one for one. If we pretty much guess the entire movie, then they didn't really do their job. So they're hoping to sort of subvert expectations and maybe do this and not do that. But they're listening to us, not to use the ideas we do. Maybe they use some of them, but to also not use the things that we say, so that they're not giving in to what we want almost.
Yeah. Keeping us there, but not exactly what we want. Yeah, for sure.
And Zima brought it up in the chat earlier too, and it was perfectly said. We can criticize, because we were talking about sort of what we like and don't like. You can criticize, but you don't hate. You especially don't hate other people for not liking what you like. It's kind of crazy, because as George Lucas always intended it, there are lessons that are all throughout Star Wars. People, it just goes whoop right over their head, or in one ear and right out the other. It's like the whatever we want, the Acolyte. People are like, no, the Acolyte stinks. Well, Star Wars is always built off of hope. I hope we get the Acolyte season 2. Or hate, all this hate going around. Like, hate leads to suffering. And of course, as the great Yoda once said, it's the path of the dark side. So it's really like they're missing the point of the whole story. But I completely agree. You can criticize, you can like things, dislike things, and have reasons for liking things and disliking things, but don't crap on other people for liking something you don't.
Right. That's their opinion. Again, just as we discovered yesterday when you were doing your top 20, you could have 100 people that you had on your show yesterday, and you would have 100 different top 20 episodes. Yep. I would almost guarantee you no one is going to have the exact same 20 out of 100 people.
Never.
To do that when they do that, because everybody has their favorites. Yeah. Or their most, oh, that was so cinematic for me, that was so heart-wrenching for me, whatever it happens to be. Everybody has their opinion on a Star Wars movie or a Star Wars animation or a live action or anything else that's coming out. So yeah, that's a fantastic point. And I think that's what we both do here on here and on yours, where nobody's bashing anybody else. Nobody's hating on, oh, well, you didn't like Empire Strikes Back. Well, F you, get off my channel. No, that's not what it's about. But
so. Really, like, if you don't like Empire Strikes Back, please get off this channel.
Well, you already knew Darth Vader was the dad.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Oh,
yeah.
So thank you everybody for being on. We're rolling up here very, very close to 2 hours. So it's been we really didn't have a place to go, and obviously we always do when we're talking Star Wars. Zima, Steve, everybody that's been on the chat tonight, Greg, thank you guys for jumping in. Evan, appreciate you guys taking your time out and talking Star Wars with us and throwing your chats up here and having just your opinion as well. And Derek, Mike, thank you guys for being here. Jacob, appreciate you coming on. And we'll be here again next Wednesday. I don't think I will be, so I will hand the reins over to Nick and Derek. And hopefully if you can jump on Mike. If you haven't already, I'm sure everybody knows, tomorrow Mike will be on, a guy who loves Star Wars. So please check that out. And again, on Saturday, anything new coming up, Mike will definitely have it out for you guys. So stay tuned to that. And we will see you on the next Star Wars Jedi Chat. Appreciate y'all.